All right. Hey, everyone. Gott Warner here, and welcome to another live version of Power Purls Podcast. I'm really excited today because I have a special guest, and I always say that, but they're always special. And my guest today is my returning guest and good friend, Tabetha Hedrick.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. Thanks for joining me today, Tabetha. So today we're going to actually get back to doing something that we have been doing for quite a while, but we haven't lately, and that's our Ask Kara and Tabetha Anything session. And anything you want about your knitting life, about you need some advice about the husband. No, I'm just kidding.
You could.
No, definitely not.
But he's not very interesting.
Yeah, I can't give husband advice. Only knitting advice, I think. And I think I'm pretty good at that. So anyway, so we're going to get going with that. And before we really dive fully into the episode, I always like to take this time to wait until everyone floods in the room. And so that does take a little bit of time. And so far, I see Lucetta is in the room. So nice to see you. This is awesome. So you've already got your question of the day posted. And so Tabetha, what's up in your world since we last spoke at Sweet Georgia?
What is not going on? It's more apropos. We're in the final week of kids' school, so there's field day stuff and turning in their devices stuff and getting all that cleaned up. And we're trying to get that in between everything going on. It's been a little nutty.
Yeah. Same thing here. Today is actually my son's last day of school. And, he's been riding his bike in the morning with the other kids. And yesterday morning he came home so sweaty with a backpack. I felt like a heart. No, it was the day before yesterday. I felt like a, horrible mother. Came home with a backpack filled with books. He had to clean out his entire locker, and he had them in his backpack, and he's riding his bike.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, wow, you got your first serious workout, kid. I mean, he's only 9, and he has this gigantic backpack. So, yeah, it's really interesting how, living in the Midwest, because I grew up in the Northeast, and school always got out in June, and it's like it's only mid-May, sort of mid-May.
Mid to late.
It's like, wait a minute, it's too early. So anyway, it's going to be, it's going to be a fun summer. So I see.
Yeah.
You ready for it, Tabetha? You ready for the summer?
I don't know. I just don't know. Children work from home. Only 2 months to squeeze in everything that they want to do in there. I don't know if I'm ready.
Yeah, I know. So I think we're going to be doing some like camping trips and like weekender things because it makes you feel like, you don't need a vacation from the vacation. You know what I mean? Because that can happen when you go away on a big trip.
Yeah, so I need a vacation from camping because I don't like camping.
Yeah.
Now, I have TNA coming up about a week and a half after the kids get out of school. And as soon as I get back from that, then about a week later, my mom and stepdad are moving here from Texas. So I want to get their house ready for them so they can start unloading their moving truck and everything. And then right after 4th of July, then we're driving back to Texas for my stepdad's official 30-year Coast Guard retirement ceremony. And then from there, the girls and I are going to drive to Colorado for a quick visit before driving back to Tennessee. And then right after we get back, they start school.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Oh. All right. Well, we're going to get going with this episode. So I just want to say hello to a few more people that have just jumped in the room. So I want to say hi to Jana. Evelyn is here and Jennifer is here. So, all right. So we're going to get going and I'm going to start the episode. So for those of you who have just joined, my name is Gott Warner and this is another episode of Power Purls Podcast. And in fact, this is the video version, the live version of the podcast. So you will find this eventually on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and wherever else you like to listen to the podcast as the audio only version. But today we are going to take your questions, and we And if you guys would like to throw the questions in the comments, so Tabetha, get ready.
I'm ready.
You're going to be on the spot today.
Sock it to me.
I'm ready for it. I love the spontaneity. So you guys, listening, this is good for you guys too if you're only listening to the audio version. So please feel free to, come back to the Facebook page or leave your comment on the show notes page or wherever. There's so many different places to get in touch if you need to do that. So this will be very useful. So I'm going to start with one of the questions that came in. Oh, and I wanted to say, you guys that have jumped in right now, if you didn't want to post earlier or you couldn't think of a question, maybe some of these that we're going to talk about will spark some ideas for you, and then throw them into the comments, you guys, because this is our time to really get in there and do this together and engage. Because this episode used to be pre-recorded, so it was only available on Power Purls Podcast as a pre-recorded audio, and now you guys get to ask us, and we get to tell. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to start with a question from Judy Phillips. Okay. And Judy first says, this may be an oddball question, but it's not.
No such thing as oddball.
No. So Judy says, this may be an oddball question, but I'd really like to know how to get on board as a stitcher for designers and fantastic yarn companies like Sweet Georgia Yarns. I am a diehard knitter who does not really want to jump on board the indie designer train and all that entails, but I'd love to fill a support hole in the industry that helps other people shine. So how shall we answer that one, Tabetha? So how does one go about becoming a stitcher? Because, I think you're really in touch with that world right now, especially at Sweet Georgia, I would say.
I utilize sample knitters quite frequently, yes. The first things, there are two important things that every designer and every yarn company looks for in a stitcher is one, that you have a pretty well-established portfolio of what you like to do, whether it's garments, socks, lace, cables, whatever it is. Something that you could show them that says, hey, I do have the skills. I know how to follow a pattern. See, look at my pretty pictures. Whether that's just on Ravelry or anything like that. And then the other big major rule is you have to be able to follow gauge. Blocked gauge, not working gauge. And so if you have those two things, it's really easy. Pick a couple. In fact, you can email me, Tabetha@sweetgeorgiayarns.com. Email me your portfolio, email any yarn company or any designer, because I know tons of designers are always looking for sample or test knitters as well. And put it out there. Yeah. Say, listen, I want to be able to support you. I'm interested in becoming a sample knitter for your team. Here's my portfolio. Here are the favorite things that I like to work. Here's my location, so they know where they can send yarn and anything to. And they may take you up on it. They may not. And then they may send you a sample pattern to test, just to check out and verify your skill set. And once you show reliability in that department, whether it's being able to knit to deadline, that's very important, following the pattern, and being able to notice if there are errors in the pattern. Because even if I have a pattern ticketed prior to the sample knit, I need to make sure that you can see when something's a little bit funky and let me know, so we can get it straight, and so you don't have to get any ripping involved. And that's really it. So just reach out to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about diving in there, right? Just getting in there right away. Don't wait for all your ducks to be in a row. You don't have to have everything perfect. Excuse me. And, you might want to consider getting on a place like Fiber Boss Collective, because there's lots of chatter there. I'm sorry, you guys. Fill in the gaps there, Tabetha, please, for a sec.
Fiber Boss Collective. Yeah, that's a great little group. And just browsing Ravelry. Who are some of your favorite designers? What are some of your favorite yarn companies? How often do they release designs? I know another example, just for Sweet Georgia, we will often, if we come out with new yarn, we'll re-knit patterns that we already have in our database, and we hire sample knitters for that as well.
Exactly. Okay, I'm better. Yeah, and so just in case, for any of you guys that don't know the Fiber Boss Collective, it's it's a Facebook group, and there's lots of discussion about working with sample knitters. There's lots of indie dyers on there. There's just so much information. So spending time on there, and if you're a little bit afraid at first, just get out and lurk a little bit, but chime in and answer questions and get to know everybody there, and then become a person of value yourself, and then you'll start to see those types of things pop up. How to test knit, and then to take advantage of it. And then, like Tabetha said, Ravelry is a great resource too. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is your Instagram portfolio, whether maybe you have a website. I mean,
or Ravelry, Project
or Ravelry. But I feel like even Instagram is a better resource because, my goodness. So because of the fact that it's pretty, pictures are very quick. You can just stick on your phone, wherever. You can't do that so well on Ravelry.
It's not easy on Ravelry.
It's clunky. It's clunky.
But Ravelry will give me more information about what their skill sets are.
That's true. I agree. But I mean, as far as the, you're right. I was going to say, as Instagram is more on the design side. So yeah. So that goes into, if you want to get noticed for your work as a designer, as someone that can create beautiful work. Your Instagram portfolio is huge. It really is. So, Judy says, thanks. I've done a bit of test knitting and informal tech editing and have really enjoyed it. Fiber Boss rocks. Yes. So, I mean, Judy, I guess the take home here is just there and show your stuff. And the proof is in the pudding, especially if you get a pattern, you get a test pattern, because it's nothing for a yarn company like Sweet Georgia. It's nothing for a designer to send you a test pattern. And if you can create this beautiful piece, and also catch those errors if there are any.
Yeah. And
then you're golden. That's how you have to do it. It takes time, right? Because it takes time to make something.
Exactly.
But really, that's kind of where it's at. So, okay. So, let's see. Robin, I don't know if I can show this on screen. Oh, I can.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. So I didn't think I could do that before. So yes. So isn't that cool? That's really why cool. I like this Be Live. So anyway, so Robin says, I am a combination knitter and would like to know which stitches I need to do differently in order to follow a pattern and or have my knitting turn out looking correct. Well, I can start on this one a little bit, and then you can chime in, Tabetha. Because I'm a continental knitter, but I do know that if I am knitting large areas of stockinette, I try to knit English, although I really don't like to, because I'm not sure, Robin, what your style is. I knit continental, so I tension my yarn. I don't throw it. I tension it in my left hand. And when I purl, so when you purl continental, your stitches can sometimes tend to slant when you, on the purl side, because your tension is not as even and uniform as it is when you're knitting. So it's a good idea, some say, and I find that this is true. My stitches don't slant when I purl English. Although I will say it depends on the yarn too. If I am starting to see that problem. What do they call that? That slanting look, not bowing? Is that no, that's not the word. There's a word for it. There's a word for that. When your stitches slant because on the purl side, when your tension is a little bit funky. So it can have to do with the yarn. So if I work a swatch, again, that gauge swatch, why it's so important, and I see that, this is happening, then I will change to, working from continental to English on the purl side. So that's one thing I would say. But Robin, I guess my question back to you is, when you say Kyles, do you use when you knit? So what do you think about that, Tabetha? Well, Robin is coming back at us.
I don't know. That's not anything I've experienced before. So I don't even really understand it, because I just throw. I'm just an English knitter. And I've not had any of my students ever experience their stitches coming out differently when they're following a pattern. So you got me. You got me.
Oh, you can't answer.
No.
Yeah. And I think that that's what it comes down to, because you have to probably be a combination knitter, or at least understand different knitting styles.
Yeah, I understand the different styles, but I guess I don't know. I guess I'm not understanding how stitches can look differently when you're switching around between the two. Does that make sense?
And it does. And I think the only answer that I had was the one I gave, because I think that there really is a difference. Because you could also be someone that when you purl, let's say continental, you never have the problem with the slanting stitches, because we're all different. We're all different people. And what comes out on the needles is always a little bit different. Friends, you have to work a gauge swatch, right? Seriously, because that knitter who made it with that particular yarn, and it's a garment, and you really have to make sure that it's, the gauge is right, or else you're going to get like an armhole that's 5 miles long. I'm exaggerating, but because you don't, because you're even your mind, your state of mind, the time of day comes into play when you're knitting. So your stitches could be more uniform at one time of the day and less uniform at a later time of the day. So it's not an exact science.
No, it's not. And especially if you're really mad at the husband, because we talked about husband advice later, don't knit, because then you just be all tight.
Yeah, isn't that true?
I know. Men ruin knitting, so you gotta be careful. No, I don't mean that, because I know there are men knitters. Husbands ruin knitting. Let me rephrase that.
All right, so I'm going to jump into the next question. Here's a question from Lucetta, and so Lucetta, you posed this slightly different on the Facebook page, but I'll read it from here. It says, "What makes a design unique, and how many differences in a pattern makes it new?" It's a really good question that many new designers have. And when can a designer claim it as a new submission? So Tabetha, we talked a little bit about this before we started things up here. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start? Does anything kind of pop out in your mind right away that you want to jump in?
It's a topic that has gotten a lot of discussion over the years within design groups, within businesses that I've been involved with. And there's this idea floating around that if your pattern is at least 10% different than the original pattern, then it can be counted as a new thing. But really, let me preface this by saying that there are not an infinite number of sweater shapes. There's not an infinite number of sock shapes. There's not an infinite number of shawl shapes. So your shape of things are always going to match something else. The construction between a top-down pullover is going to be pretty much the same construction as everybody else's top-down pullover. So really the differences come from the types of stitch patterns that you use and how you put it together through your own style, your own background, and your own construction.
Absolutely.
It's a controversial time right now, especially I've seen a dramatic upsurge in the accusations of designers stealing designs from other designers because something looks like something else, whether that person has ever seen it before or whether they just happen to have the same stitch dictionary and both really like sideways asymmetrical shawls. You know what I mean? So, and I think that is because our resources for stitch designs is small, whereas our design database our designers have grown, so there, again, nothing's, it's a finite limit out there. So I guess my advice is that it should be unique to you because it's something that you came up with and not anything that you've been influenced by anyone else. So that's what makes a design unique. It came out of your own head. As for a submission, as it being a new submission, again, it goes back to if you came up with it, that's a new submission.
Yeah.
And you'll probably expound on this, but that doesn't include the stitch patterns that you see in stitch dictionaries. Those, we all have the same stitch dictionaries. Yeah. And we all use feather and fan, and we all use zigzag lace, and we all use the braided cables, blah, 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 blah. It's just how you use those stitch patterns that you come across out in the world. How do you use them within your own piece in a unique way?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's a big question that a lot of new designers have, because they think, I can't use a stitch pattern from, say, a Barbara Walker stitch pattern or a Harmony Guide. What did I say? Stitch Walker? What did I say?
Barbara Walker.
Stitch Dictionary, Walker. Barbara Walker. I thought I said Stitch Walker. But, designers may think that they can't use, the stitch pattern as it's presented in the Stitch Dictionary. And the truth is that, yes, you can, as long as you are, remixing it, as Tabetha said, in your own, rendition. How do you envision this fitting into a garment that maybe you have portions of that stitch pattern with areas of other stitch pattern, of stockinette? What if you're making a shawl and you have to chart it out so that you don't lose the repeat on that shape? Right. That takes skill, that takes math, that takes thoughtfulness. Mm-hmm. So, and it's funny because I can tell a quick story about a design that I created using feather and fan, popular stitch pattern. And I thought, oh gosh, I can't use that. So, but I really love that look. So I recreated it. And it was actually, it just didn't make sense in the pattern. And it threw a lot of knitters off. And so I learned early on from one of my mentors. This is why mentors are great to have, you guys, if you can really find a great relationship that's a friendship first, and that it can kind of flower into that partnership, because that's what it is. And she just said, hey, don't recreate the wheel, but it's like what I said before, how can you reimagine that in a new design? Right. So I hope that answers your question, Lucetta. So I think we pretty much, great question. Yeah, we elaborated on that pretty well. So I'm going to move along. We have a few others that have just come in. Awesome. So we got a long question. Here we go. So Jennifer, sorry. We already read Judy's question. So how do you get started in the knitting yarn industry? And how long did it take you to gain a following? I just designed and published my first pattern, working on my second now, and have a 2 times a week vlog, but I'm so new that I do not have a large following. Help. How do we answer this in a very encouraging way? I mean, yes, you're, yeah. No, I'm not, you are, let me just say, there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. If you have a voice and a vision, and you will find success, and you will gain a following at some point. Believe me. But the one ingredient that you need to have in the beginning is patience. Yeah. You need to have patience, and you're cultivating your platform, your group, your tribe. It's more about, Jennifer, right now more than ever, you should be focused on building your community, instead of relationships. Instead of the dollar will come. I mean, yeah, still you want to make a living, do that, but really think about, if you're going to do your vlog, right? What's your call to action, right? I think making sure that part of your call to action includes bringing in those new people, because especially if you're going to be an online business, right? Because without those online people, it's going to be hard to build that business. So building that community and building that following and making genuine friends and genuine relationships is really important. And you know what? When you start to really come from that mindset, it feels really good. and it does. And it becomes so authentic that, you will start to see, I know this sounds cliche, but, follow your bliss or whatever that is, and successful follow, but follow that, that community, engage with that community, and you will see that success follow you, and it'll follow you and come upon you in ways that you may least expect. So really, Jennifer, think about, because you're just starting out, think about growing that community and connecting with people, because once you have those raving fans, they'll want to buy every pattern that you make. Trust me. And there's an article you should read, Jennifer. It's called 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly. all you got to do is Google him. I'm a big fan. I know Tabetha, I've mentioned him before. 1,000 true fans. Okay, so this will give you confidence. And for anyone out there thinking, oh my gosh, it's such a noisy world, and how am I going to get noticed? And it's getting crazier. You know what? You only need maybe about 1,000, maybe even 100 people, but 1,000 people. That's just a number, right? That's arbitrary. Depends on what you're selling. Are you selling a course? Maybe it's worth $100. Maybe you're selling patterns that are $6. Whatever it is, you have a number, right? And if you think about it, the number, when you distill it down to the number of people that you need to make a living, just little old you, to make a sustainable living that you're happy with, not, just from a good place, a quality of life. It doesn't take a ton of people, So anyway, that's my 2 cents there. Tabetha, do you have anything else to jump in on there with, or did I don't know, go for it.
Keep designing. Don't stop that. And focus on the individual relationships, not just with your customers, but where your customers go. So where are they buying yarn from? Okay. Establish relationships with those yarn companies. To me, that's one of the big things that really stands out in my own background, is the relationships that I built and established with the yarn companies that I worked with, just spread out, and just keep up the personalized attention. That's so missing in so many different ways. And if you can keep that up, they'll stick around and they're going to spread the word. That's it.
Great.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
But
that's all you got.
I went and got a job in the industry to make it a little bit easier myself. So
yeah, yes, designing, creating your vision, your voice, because still, nowadays in this fiber world, you don't have to be a designer to make a living. You can have a podcast like me. You can have, you can be an encourager. You can be a cheerleader for others. You can be a teacher. So there's lots and lots of different ways that you can create your vision, your voice, your platform. And I get a lot of inspiration from mainstream people. So Jennifer, check out others that are out there doing some really exciting things, some vloggers, in the mainstream space as well. Just off the top of my head, a few that come to mind that are empowering women. Gabrielle Bernstein is one. Maybe you've heard of her, and she does a vlog. She's one of the original vloggers. She calls herself a mindfulness junkie, spiritual junkie. And then Marie Forleo is another one. She's really inspiring. Like yeah, she's started out as a life coach and just beautiful human being too. And she just really is that encourager. So if I feel down, I just go to YouTube and watch one of Marie's videos, or, now she has a podcast. Who knew? And then, start listening to her, like while I'm running. So those are the kind of people that you should also be paying attention to. So get out our fiber space a little bit too, to see how look to the mainstream.
Yeah. What other?
How you can bring that in our space. I'm sorry, Tabetha. You said something. I think I lost you. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Tabetha.
One of our internets is going a little off, I think. But I was going to say, see what other people are doing in other industries. Also, just be regular with your social media contacts and your communication with your community. If it's haphazard, like once or twice a week, you kind of fall off the radar a little bit. So if if you make yourself a regular presence, that's a really big takeaway, I think.
Uh-oh. Oh, are you back now, Tabetha?
I am. You froze there for a little while. I don't know if it's me or you.
I wonder if we should, oh gosh, I hate to say, let's leave and come back, but
that's always a pain.
I think that am I frozen again?
No, I can still hear you.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to keep going with it. Okay. It's about a comment. Linda is in the room, and Linda posed a question
I knew it was
on Facebook. Okay. So I'm going to read Linda's question here. You said
I knew it was Kara having the problems. I knew it couldn't be me.
They are delayed, you guys. Tabetha?
I'm still
Can you hear
here.
me?
Yes.
Okay, because you were laughing?
Yeah, I was laughing at you.
No, I think I'm going to have to refresh because I think that everyone's going to video refresh it. Let me do that.
Yeah.
I know this is dangerous.
It's dangerous, but we like living on the edge, so go for it.
Oh, hey, nobody went. Everyone's still there.
It looks like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So this is going to be a whole section that we cut. I see. Now I have to think about the podcast too. So this is going to be like dead space on the. Okay, you guys. So I'm going to. Yay! I'm back. Yes, Troy says you're back. So
At least they missed us.
I don't know what the deal is, but we're just going to keep on going. Question from Linda. Linda says, I'm finishing my practice shawl with a stretchy bind off. And now Linda is talking about the 5-week workshop. It's called the Situation Shawls Workshop. So just to give you guys some background here. And so the yarn, she said that the end was rolling, basically, is what she's stating, because Linda wants to know if that edge is going to be straight after blocking. And the question is yes, because Linda, I knew this question was going to come up because as I'm knitting it, so it was all reverse stockinette, right? And then in this particular pattern, and by the way, it's right behind me. So this shawl is it's worked in reverse stockinette, and then the end has this open work, right? And so as you can see, it's not rolling because it has this open work that it involves some garter or purl rows on the right side, on the wrong side in this case because it's reverse stockinette. But anyway, let's just say purl rows on the opposite side of the stockinette rows, so it's not going to roll. So Linda, don't worry, when you block, it's going to be lovely. So, and I think that's something that maybe, it's good to talk about. Blocking. Blocking it's very important because in cases like that, you could be making something and be horrified and maybe rip because you're afraid it's not going to lay flat, when in fact it will. And in lesson 5 that we're doing, which is specifically about shawls, it's going to be all about blocking. And yeah, I can remember making my first shawl with pretty peaks and valleys, and it was looking horrible. But then as soon as I blocked it out with the pins, it came out lovely. So anyway, no fear, Linda, you're going to be just fine. So yeah. So let's see. Any other questions? I just see a few comments in here, and just to kind of continue on that same kind of mindset with this gauge swatch. Troy says, I need a with gauge swatches, but it is so worth it. And I know a lot of us talk about that gauge swatch and need patience because the project, and as you guys know, I'm an advocate for working the swatch, the gauge swatch, swatching in general, because you know what, it can be a really fun experience. And also, you know what I think for me more than anything else, and I don't know about you, Tabetha, I'm always thinking about what I can do with those swatches. When they're those little gems those little jewels, because, I end up throwing them in a bag. And I made some really great cowls and bags and little trinket purses and added vintage buttons and then later added embroidery. And you can even make a pair of slippers out of a gauge swatch if it's big enough.
I haven't done anything with my gauge swatches. I should, though. You see these bins back here? I have 2 of them full of swatches, so I should do something with them. I just haven't. But I have to stop knitting other things first to have time to do something with my gauge swatches. Like right now I have 5 projects due by the second week of June. 5.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you guys a quickie pattern. I just thought of this now because I happen to have a gauge swatch behind me because they're all over the place too. So like I said, you could make a pair of slippers. Oh, I know why the internet is probably spotty. It's like thundering right now. So if you guys hear thunder, I'm sorry. I can't do anything about that. But, if you have some gauge swatches, now this one's it's more rectangular than it is square, right? So let's say you make a 6 by 4 inch or whatever size your foot is, okay? Make it as long as your foot and maybe 4 inches high, but find a gauge swatch that you have, right? That might already be that shape. And here it is. And then fold it in half. Fold it in half like that. And sew along one short edge, and then 3/4 of the way on one of the long edges, and then sew on the second short edge, but leave a little opening for your foot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's an envelope slipper. Seriously, it's because when you put it on, it stretches to your foot, and it looks like, it molds to your foot. So there you go, free.
Awesome.
Free pattern. Anyway, and of course the audio people are like, what? No, but anyone listening on the pod can get the idea too, because you just take that swatch, fold it in half, sew it on the 2 short sides, sew it along top, leave a little spot to slip in your foot, and you're done. Not take, 2 odd, maybe you have odd swatches. They're 2 different colors, but maybe they complement each other. Make slippers out of that. Slippers for your family and friends.
Yep. That's awesome. I love it.
Okay. So I'm getting a little goofy here. But so I think, let's see. Lucetta had another question. Let's see. Where did you discuss the before so I can go listen? This before.
Oh, she's talking about when we were discussing the patterns, uniqueness and newness.
Or I was just thinking.
Yeah, I think she just was confused. You mentioned before that you and I had been talking about this topic before, but it was just before this particular conversation.
Oh, it was before this conversation.
Yeah. It wasn't on another podcast.
Sorry, Lucetta. I'm so sorry. No, I know, because Lucetta is so cute. You're like, I want to hear everything. And by the way, Lucetta, I hope you've already begun to dive into the podcast, because Tabetha and I have been doing these Ask Us Anything types of episodes. So if you go to powerpurlspodcast.com and you type in, there's a little little magnifying glass, just type in ask. That's what I do, is type in ask, and you'll see all the episodes pop up. So it's really
cool. Talked about some great stuff in the past, like planning and organization and work-life balance, knitting, sample knitting, designing. There's a lot of topics in there.
Exactly. So does anybody else have any other questions? Because I think that's a good amount. It's already, we've been on here for 40 minutes. No. Yeah, 40 minutes. So anything else that anyone wants to add, you guys can add that in here, and I'll just kind of start to wrap up and, talk about some newsy things. So we released as a podcast this coming Monday. So if you guys are watching the replay, if you feel like, or anyone watching live, you want to listen to the audio, take it as you go, you can find it as an episode on Power Purls Podcast. .com, and check out the community also. So there's a great Power Purls community. As one of the patrons, Melanie, who's not with us today, a lot of you guys know Melanie. She referred to Power Purls as she calls it the Power Purls Garden. I love that. It's like So it is this great community. And if you guys want to check it out, it's on Patreon. And so you can find it at powerpurlspodcast.com/community. And let's see. Oh, and also I'm starting up some one-on-one coaching, you guys. So for any of you designers, wannabe designers out there, I actually have a 3-month program that I'm starting up. It's actually in my new online school. I'm really excited about it. I was talking about this online school in my newsletter, Tabetha. It's really exciting.
Ooh.
So I'm building it out. Yeah. And so right now, if you go to karagottwarner.com/coaching, you can check out that coaching program. And it's in my school. So I'm going to be officially announcing that in June. And this workshop that I've been talking a little bit about here, yeah, the workshop's going to be there. So it's going to be laid out in modules and in little bite-sized nuggets. So, and it'll be a standalone workshop that you can purchase. So anyway, I will share more and more about that later on. So
awesome.
I think that's it. So Tabetha, thanks so much for joining me today. And
thanks for having me.
Everyone, this was great. And I'll see you on the podcast and also next week on the next live video. So take care.
Oh, bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. See you, Tabetha.
Bye.
Bye.